I once had strings, but now I'm free. There are no strings on me. That was No Strings Attached, and I have with me two of the production team, or two of the development team with me on the couch. Would you two like to introduce yourselves? Tell us your name and tell us what you did on No Strings Attached.
Yeah, so my name is Ezra Botansky. I was one of the producers.
I'm Carly Henry. I am another producer, but I also do narrative design.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys could see your own lower thirds, but one of them said producer extraordinaire, and one
That's
of them
me.
is struggling producer.
You know, going through these last couple semesters, it has been a struggle.
You know what? Going through the last 40 years of my life, it's been a little bit of a struggle.
Hey, and that's why you got to have the confidence to call yourself an extraordinaire, really.
So tell me about No Strings Attached. You're a puppet making his way in the world, but what else?
Yeah, so it's a atmospheric puzzle platformer where you're going to play as Pavo, who's that little puppet you guys saw, and you're trying to help him escape a circus, which is kind of puppeteered by a evil puppet master.
Yeah, and you use the main mechanic that we want to show up is poses. Pretty much you use these poses to complete puzzles all the way to the end. And here's our intro cinematic, which can be skipped if we want to, but it's really cool. Our team worked really hard on this.
Yeah.
Wait, so when you say poses, Carly, what exactly do you mean?
So pretty much we focused on marionetting Pavo's hands, so it's like, this is a gameplay, and then this is gameplay. And then you can also do like a balance pose where it's just T-pose, because you got a T-pose on everyone. And then you have a push pose where you're just hands out front. And you use a combination of those to do stuff like, there's a trapeze, you can raise both your hands and kind of swing on the trapeze. You can edge climb, and then there's so much more that you gotta play.
So speaking of the mechanics, what we really wanted to do with this game was we wanted to make a game that was really approachable for a lot of people, right? So some games have really, really complex mechanics, but we wanted to make sure that our game was able to be played by people of all kind of skill level, because we want to make sure the player really gets to experience the world and the story and the atmosphere, which is being shown off right now in the cinematic, and we thought that maybe having really complicated mechanics might get in the way of that.
For sure. So as you're operating his arms, if I recall correctly, last time it was the trigger buttons that were doing the arm poses.
Yeah.
That's a really, really unique mechanic. Do you find that, people who maybe are less familiar with games, they'll pick up a controller and their hands will immediately go to the face buttons? Did you find any sort of learning curve with people realizing, oh, wait, there's buttons up here as well?
Yeah, so it may seem kind of like a strange decision to put that's such a key feature on the triggers, right? But we wanted to make kind of a control scheme that made the player feel like they were actually puppeteering Pavo, kind of create that player-character kind of bond almost immediately. We have seen some players who have kind of defaulted to face buttons or stuff like that, but honestly, from all our playtesting, it's been pretty great. People really get into the controls pretty quickly. They think it's very diegetic or intuitive,
Yeah, and as you saw and as you will see, we have these posters all around in our tutorial level to make sure, hey, you can play this game. Like here's how you climb. You interchange between the left and right trigger. It's kind of like it's a controller map. It's pretty much a generic controller. So even if you're playing Xbox or PlayStation controllers, you know how to play.
For sure, and that's a really cool diegetic way of including the instructions in the world itself.
Yeah, and when we were designing the game, we really wanted to push ourselves to design a really good set of mechanics for Pavo to do, as you can see he's demonstrating here.
Gotcha. Yep. Oh, sorry, Carly. It sounded like you were going to say something.
Sorry. Yeah, and we have Joe playing our game right now. I just wanted to give him a shout out.
Yeah, he's been doing a great job. He's one of our designers for the game, and him and the other designer, Zhao, have been doing a really fantastic job on the game. So I could spend all day talking about the team.
How was the team breakdown? How did it? The team breakup. What happened?
We went to a couple tough years. The hits weren't really selling that well, so we had to break up eventually.
We thought it was just going to be a no strings attached kind of thing, but then one of us caught feelings for the other
it's okay. But no, the team breakdown was actually pretty good. We had 2 producers, a sound person, 2 designers, a handful of artists, both technical and non-technical artists. And then we also had some engineers, some really talented engineers.
Yeah, and we did have some roles that we kind of didn't have on our team. So we kind of branched out, like Burton, who is a C14. We saw his previous alt controller, but he helped with these graphics that you see all the time, the Steam page assets, and he's a really good 2D artist.
Yeah. So we weren't afraid to try and get some help from outside where we needed to fill some holes, basically.
That's very, very cool, seeing what's best for the game. So I jokingly said earlier that this reminds me of a game that I have worked on before, in that I have worked on a game which is a little person walking around in a big world. And one of the things that was the toughest for us to kind of come to grips with was the camera. And like, should it be follow cam? Should it be spline based? Should it be fixed cam? How close should the camera be? How far should the camera be?
Yeah.
How did you play around with that? How did you land on kind of like where you're at now?
Yeah, so basically we always knew we wanted to do a fixed camera angle for the game because it basically let us compose scenes like you would in a movie or a TV show, right? And do it very deliberately, right? A fancy word that people throw around all the time is mise en scène, but I think that word is, it's a little silly. But it basically just describing that everything is there for a purpose. So by putting the camera in one particular place and not moving it, it meant that we could show the player specific scenes. For example, for this triple trapeze section, right, we want to make sure the player can see what they're going to do next and also give them this kind of cinematic camera.
But we have also learned a lot with this camera perspective because one of the things that we ran into is like depth perception. It's like, how do you kind of control that? So that has been an interesting challenge that we have constantly learned from and how to navigate that.
Yeah.
Especially when the jump is right in front of you and you're like, wait, is this 1 foot or is this 10 feet?
Yeah.
And if you pay attention, look, there's our scary puppet master. This kind of leads into what we also was really cool was we actually got to play around with some other technologies like motion capture. So that guy you just saw was actually motion captured right here at the University of Utah. I was the actor for it, but then of course it was up to Brady to actually clean it up and get it in engine.
And Siri did the record the footage.
Mm-hmm. It was a lot of fun, and we actually used that. We used mocap a couple times across the game, and it was a blast, honestly.
Pavo's not mocap though, right?
He is in some scenes,
okay.
But for the most part, he's just not. Yeah.
It's kind of like for those cutscene scenes, like at the beginning or at the end.
Wait, hold on. Is the puppet master a puppet himself? Because that sure looked like a wooden face.
We can neither confirm nor deny.
Oh my goodness, why? Every team is making scary things, and then they just say like, figure it out.
I could probably hand that over to Carly, who is our amazing narrative lead on this game. We wanted to create like a very deliberate story for the game.
Yeah, I mean, so okay, the puppet master is a mask, a wooden mask to kind of remind people of the puppet. He's making all of these puppets. We see him working in the background. It also helped with like kind of we don't have to do like facial animation because he's wearing a mask.
Sure.
And
Yep.
so
Helped us out
it
a little
helps
bit.
a lot. But
Cheating like that is always fun. How do we get away with it? Well, he's wearing a mask and you can't see his mouth move.
yeah.
All right, so No Strings Attached. It is coming out on the Switch when all of our games are coming out.
Yeah.
In the meantime, is there any way that people can play it? Can they follow social channels, anything like that?
Yes, absolutely. So right now the game is actually on Steam, currently in early access, but we plan on releasing it very soon. Right now, you guys can download the game for free
Do it.
on Steam, and you should totally do it. Otherwise, you'll make Pavo sad. Oh
Yeah.
no, you don't want that.
Gotta do it for Pavo.
Seriously, you don't want to disappoint a little. It looks like he's already had a hard enough life. I don't think we need to add to that.
Yeah.
But as was shown, you can also follow us on Twitter at Pavo the Puppet, and I'm pretty sure that all of our Linktree links will be in the Twitch chat.
Fantastic. So that's Pavo spelled P-A-V-O.
Yep.
Yeah.
Pavo the Puppet.
Pavo the Puppet. All right. Well, thank you, Ezra and Carly. Thank you for joining me here today, and thank you for sharing your game with us.
Of course.
For everyone here,